Hey everyone, it's me HawkeyeG here with another video for you. This time I'm reviewing the upcoming Total War Pharaoh title. I've had my hands on it for a couple weeks now, and I'd really like to let you all know what I think. One reason why I want to talk about this game is because of all the issues facing the community right now. I've kept up to date on things like Total War Warhammer 3 patches, as well as the Hyenas debacle and other things, so I want to give my opinion on this title because there's lots of other issues at play which I think will undoubtedly affect people's decisions when it comes to this game. However, it's important to note that I'm not going to talk much more about those issues here at all. And why is that? Because I actually think that this is a pretty good game, and I want to focus on that. One of the very first things I got to interact with in this game is the campaign customization. And I mean, this is awesome. I'm truly impressed by the amount of options there are here. There's so many different settings. It's very granular. There's lots of different things that you can select here that you can choose to change. I don't want to spend too much time dwelling on it because I want to keep this video relatively short. And one of the downsides, as my friend points out, it means that discourse will be more difficult when it comes to comparing strategies in battle and in campaign. You know, talking about what's good and what's bad, well, that might depend on your settings. But seriously, look at all this. Whatever mods you had to make use of in other games to make the game fun, or to add things you like, or remove things that you didn't like, are practically a thing of the past. The ability to make this game fun for yourself specifically, to tailor these settings to your liking, has grown immensely with this title. Now, once we actually get into a campaign, there's two major aspects of every Total War game. There's the campaign gameplay, and there's the battle gameplay. We'll start with campaign, which is clearly where Pharaoh is strongest. People have talked about how they don't like the map, or they don't like the map size, and maybe I'm misunderstanding the arguments, but this is a big map. There's a lot of settlements here. Last time I checked, I think there's just slightly fewer settlements on this map than there is in Total War 3 Kingdoms. Now, maybe you want to make the argument that the terrain isn't as interesting, or, you know, there's other potential problems with it, and it's not like you can't or shouldn't criticize it, but there's a lot going on here. There's a lot of settlements, there's a lot of provinces. This is a big map. This is not a small map. This is a big map. One of the unique aspects that they have in this game is all these little icons here. These are outposts. It's something I'd like to dive a little deeper into on another video, but the short answer is that they give bonuses to your province. So in my province management, I can also manage my outposts and change them. They give bonuses to your army. You'll see some of those at the bottom of this panel when I hover over this, and you get to see what they do. Oh, and they restore movement points. Like it says here, kind of in the middle, interacting with an outpost will refund 50% of the movement spent to reach it. So that means that I probably don't have any troops that I can move this turn, but you can traverse your territory much more easily. You can move through territory a lot more quickly. So there's still decisions to make about, like, okay, where do I put some of my vulnerable, outposts? Where do I put some of the better ones? Where do I put the worst ones? And how soon do I want to build them to be able to travel quicker? I've noticed that the AI doesn't use the travel feature very often. The AI doesn't frequently, or I could be wrong, but they don't seem to use the increased movement. However, one of these buildings allows you to station units in here to create like a secondary garrison that will support the settlement in that region when it comes under siege. And I can tell you without a doubt, the AI uses this. They use it a lot. Especially at capitals, you're not going to be able to just walk right up to everybody's capital and steamroll it. So it greatly increases movement in your own territory, doesn't necessarily hamper movement in enemy territory, but it also kind of gives you a different strategic approach, right? Do I need to, delay a turn and make a loop through my territory to get back my bonuses? Do I, have to sidetrack to attack the garrison that the AI has set up instead of going straight to their capital? It increases the amount of decisions you make on the campaign map in terms of movement, and it increases the meaning of them as well. Another feature that I think is pretty good is the victory conditions. This stuff isn't going to make too much sense to you, but so homelands versus foreign conquest. Now I'm playing as Ramesses, or that's who I'm like kind of showing off here. Isn't there like a faction summary button? There's a faction summary button somewhere, and I'm just losing my mind.
Pharaoh.
That's because it's right next to here. This is also a great thing that we're going to have to come back to. Actually, you know what? Let's divert to the faction summary, because they give you this great loadout. They tell you what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, but furthermore, key concepts. I should basically just make this the video. One of the important things to see here is that the game will actually make some recommendations for you. They give you some tidbits, okay? Ancient Legacy, there's 4 ancient legacies you can select from. They all give you unique mechanics, so even if I play the same campaign as Ramses multiple times, I might have like different objectives and a different play style depending on my legacy. This recommends a legacy, so even if I would like to make a video kind of diving into those. Even if you don't know what your legacy, like what the different ones do, the game recommends one for you. Oh, how do I do, what is legitimacy? What does this mean? They explain it to you and they give you some light recommendations. I think that this is something that's really helpful and increases the game's accessibility by a lot. It just gives you some like little advice for your faction, and especially if you've got something unique there, you've got, that's kind of where this little extra symbol comes from. But yeah, even on Ancient Legacy, as Ramses, I don't have anything special for the Ancient Legacy for my faction, but they'll still make a recommendation for it. So anyways, I'm playing as Ramses. We want to conquer Egypt. We want to become the Pharaoh, right? Well, these are all like Egyptian lands right in here. But that foreign conquest, I could go off to the northeast instead. I could become best friends with my brother Seti, let him become Pharaoh, and go an entirely different route in my campaign and still win it, because the victory conditions would work the same, like victory points. You just need to achieve a certain total number of tasks in order to win the game. You don't have to achieve anything specific. You're not railroaded into, as the High Elves, I have to go and defeat the Dark Elves. It doesn't matter if Malekith is in the other corner of the world, I still have to go over there. I think they're making strides in Warhammer, but in this game, like, it's clearly a little better that I can choose. Like, I could replay the same faction, but I could make totally different decisions about how to pursue victory, and they're all equally valid. Or at least it gives you different options. Maybe they're not all equally valid, but there's different options. There's even other things like feats of rule, right? Becoming Pharaoh, interacting with other gameplay mechanics can get you a victory. You don't have to just conquer people. Landmarks is its own thing, and I want to say this is tied to that other Ancient Legacy. Like, there's other features in the game, and so the point being, there is a great deal of sandbox decision making and freedom when it comes to determining how to win and play out your campaign. I'm not going to talk too much about research. I'm not going to talk too much about like the deities and the god system. I actually think this stuff's like pretty straightforward and self-explanatory. I will touch on diplomacy. If you've played Troy, you're familiar with this. It's just like some of the more up-to-date games. You can do like a trade agreement over turns. There is no like, just ongoing trade agreement for nothing like there is in Total War, or where you trade. Like, you have to actually decide to give resources in like per turn or in single amounts, stuff like that. It's got all of the like the systems where, they break down and tell you what it's worth. Okay, I can make it work. I can give them an ultimatum. If you're familiar with modern Total War diplomacy settings, you'll be pretty familiar with this stuff. There's not too much to add here, but I do really like that. We've also got an interface here on the side that kind of gives you a clue of like, okay, what resources are people lacking? What do they have? And I can actually sort by that. So if I have a bunch of bronze, I can look for somebody who's in need of bronze, and now I can see all these people who I can trade with, and what might they get for me. I don't know, there's not too much to say about diplomacy. It works similar to most other games with some of these modern advancements to it, but I think that's panned out pretty well. We've got features like the Egyptian court, which is a unique mechanic for them. There's one for the Hittites as well, I believe. There's the power of the crown, another unique system with a bunch of different bonuses, a whole bunch of aspects. This is a video you should probably find somebody else's channel to watch for some guides. Maybe check Susaville Total War in a little bit. I'm sure he'll put out some great guides for this game no matter what. But so we've got actually what I want to touch on this quickly, because this is stuff that keeps the game interesting from moment to moment. Every turn you go to the court and you make 1 or 2 small decisions, but it means that you have to have a long-term plan. You want to act on it every turn, and as conditions change, your plan may change from turn to turn. So it's really nice to have these kind of like unique mechanics and unique systems in the game that keep you engaged, that keep you motivated. I'm on turn 70, and the Egyptian court is just as relevant as it is the moment you unlock it. So being able to go from turn to turn and have something interesting to do is really useful. This power of the crown isn't really something that you determine from turn to turn, but it will still very much play into your long-term decision making. It can play into your diplomacy and your overall goals that you're going to pursue in the campaign. So there's a lot of unique and very interesting mechanics in this game. And that's to say nothing of the ancient legacies. You know, again, I can't really get too deep into them on this video without already eating up a bunch of additional time. But suffice to say, again, I could play the same campaign multiple times, pick a different ancient legacy every time, and end up having, you know, kind of like different goals and going in a different direction with every campaign. My buddy who's doing the builder ancient legacy has to go and take over Egypt because that's where all of the landmarks are. So the ways that it can shape your campaign, depending on which faction you pick, I think are really interesting. There's not too much more to say on the campaign side of things. We've still got the resource mechanics from Troy. Again, I really like this. It means that you have to make meaningful decisions about who to conquer next, not just because of, you know, their location and the terrain, but also, you know, does your neighbor here have stone? I need stone. Stone is used for building almost everything. Do I want to go all the way to these ruins in the corner at the start of my campaign? Or do I attack a friendly neighbor at the start of the campaign and try to overcome them? Does this expose me to other threats? Are there other resources that I can get? Is there somebody who would make a good ally because of the resources that they have and because I have what they don't? We can make a good trade partnership. Those kinds of those features and those interactions and those sorts of ways of thinking, you know, even like being able to trade long distance with other people or long term with other neighbors. I like that aspect of this game. I like that depending on which direction you go in and what kind of resources you obtain, it'll determine, okay, am I playing, you know, militaristic? Am I going to spread wide or build tall? Am I going to be an economic powerhouse, a military powerhouse? Am I, you know, what kinds of things can I take control over? What value does my resource have? How can I use it to my advantage? Again, another layer of the campaign that keeps things interesting and pushes you to make decisions at every stage of the campaign. Now, there's definitely features that I've skimmed. There's features I haven't touched on that are going to be integral to some of your campaigns. This video is getting to be about as long as I want it to be, and I don't want to touch too much. I don't want to spend too much time going too deep onto things. One last thing I do want to talk about is units, and I'm kind of looking here. I don't think that there's actually going to be a good like breakdown of what the different units are. Armies in battle. Yeah, I actually don't think, you know, I wish that we had like the kind of the Warhammer 3 style encyclopedia. You've got lots of different units. I mean, I already said it earlier on. Battle's definitely the weakest part of this game, and this would be my one major caveat to this game. If you are in Total War games for the battles primarily, you probably will not like this game. Unless you really like the setting or you're especially compelled by the various mechanics, the battles are pretty boring. They're pretty limited. You've got melee infantry, you've got missile infantry, you've got chariots. That's it. You don't even have the mythological units of Troy. For some people that's a good thing, for some people that's terrible. There's like 3 different like tiers and 3 different classes of units. Like you see this bronze circle, bronze is a tier 1 unit, circle is light unit, which means they're lower armored but can move faster. Silver is a tier 2 unit. The diamond means that it's a medium unit, so they, you know, a little bit heavier armor and a little bit like slower movement. Gold then is the tier 3 unit, which again, the diamond means that they are medium armored, I think. Maybe I'm getting this wrong. No, I'm getting it right. Where are they? I don't have any examples right now, I don't think, but there's a hexagon shape. The hexagon shape is the heavy units. So it's pretty easy to tell at a glance, what is the strength, what is the quality of the unit. You've got this interplay where, with light units, you can actually outrun the classes above you, let them tire themselves out, try to get, I don't know, I don't know how the armor breaking system works. Again, I would recommend somebody else's video for that. Maybe we'll grab a link once we review this and see if anybody has some out. The point is supposed to be that, heavy units will win decisive fights when they actually get into combat. Light units are going to be more micro-management heavy. Even if we look at this low tier building, the native muster unit, we've got these I actually want to look at, I want to go to a different province here and look at some of the units that we have, because we have different local units, right? Habiru Raiders, two-handed axe infantry, lightly armored, moves fast, excellent battle speed, strong against shields. This is your cycle charger unit. And so to win a fight with these, you're going to outplay your opponent by moving around a lot and using terrain effectively, taking advantages like that. So there's this interplay between different missile unit types. There's a short, medium, and long-range missile types, which kind of, counter each other at the range. The shortest range units are the best against infantry, though. So you have all these trade-offs here. You, of course, have chariots, which, typically are built to destroy the infantry. You've got all sorts of different infantry units. You've got spearmen for the anti-large against chariots. You've got spearmen and swordsmen that have both high melee defense for position holding. You've got axemen and clubmen for offensive moves and breaking front lines. So there's a variety of units here, but the depth in that variety is not as much as a lot of the other games. And so a lot of your fights will end up panning out the same, or your different unit selections. It's still important, right? It's important to pick the right unit for the right job. It's important to pay attention to that stuff, because those small differences are much more meaningful in this game, but it doesn't compare to countering a cavalry charge with halberdiers in Total War Warhammer, or getting flying cavalry onto archer units. It definitely, the unit counters and unit matchups aren't as strong as this game. You still win or lose by those narrow amounts, and so it's still important to take those things into consideration. But I don't think that it's just not as deep as a lot of other games are. I'm not trying to trash on it. I think that it's still a good system. I've definitely still had fun playing difficult battles in this campaign. But I do think that that's one of the challenges. Now, there's a couple more things I want to touch on. Well, really it's one thing, the AI. First of all, okay, again, this is normal campaign. It's going really well for me right now. If we look, I still don't think that I am the strongest faction in the game, though. I don't know who it is, but I'm strength rank 2, and it's not the sea people. Here's some random guy. He has 10 settlements. If we were to go back when I was a little smaller, Seti had more settlements than me. The AI is definitely competitive in this title, or so it seems thus far. It's not like Warhammer 3 where everybody kind of gets a province or two and then sits in stalemate. I mean, it's still a little bit like that, but the AI at least seems willing to grow and expand and take territory. They seem relatively competitive. I've seen that video on the battle AI and the glitches. I have not experienced that. I have not experienced any problems, any significant problems with the battle AI. They perform and play about as well as you might expect. They're not perfect, I don't know, strategy gods or whatever, but in my experience, the battle AI has been more than sufficient to provide me with challenging, interesting battles thus far. So I really just wanted to touch on those two aspects. I know there's that controversial video of the battle AI that's gone around, and I even after watching that video, I still haven't seen anything like that happen in my own. So my closing regards would be, I think this is a good game. I made this review because I want to recommend this game. I don't want to see, the franchise go down the hole. I want to recognize quality work and enjoyable features when they are present, and I think that this does a great job of this. There's incredible campaign mechanics in this game. I think it makes it very fun, good moment-to-moment gameplay, good turn-to-turn gameplay, lots of meaningful decisions to make, long-term and short-term planning, and those things can change and grow and evolve over time. And that's the sort of thing I really enjoy in these games. The thing that makes Total War Warhammer so boring is by turn 30, there's no decisions left to make. Even if you're playing on the highest difficulty in that game, you've kind of like, you know, you can make decisions, but it doesn't, it's nowhere near as engaging. You don't have as many meaningful decisions to make on a regular basis. I think this game does a great job of capturing that. I think the audio is good, the video is great. I haven't really had performance issues with this, though I'm sure there will be some on release, and it will take some time for them to work it out because of all the different systems that exist in the market. I think the visuals are good. I think that the campaign is solid and fun. I think it's a good game. This isn't like a 10 out of 10. It's definitely not a 5 out of 10. It's way better than that, like 7.5. It's a good game. If you like Total War, you'll probably enjoy this. If you're interested in the setting, you'll enjoy this. If you are really compelled to play the battles, you might not enjoy this. I just don't want it to like fall by the wayside because of all the other things that are happening, all the other controversies, which in my opinion are legitimate controversies and legitimate issues that need to be dealt with. But I don't think that those problems are currently reflected in this game, and I wanted to be able to speak my piece on it. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a great day out there. I hope that you make whatever decision is right for you when it comes to this game, and I hope this video helped you in making that decision. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next one.